anytime we listen to music, I always feel that moment, that song is engraved now in our memory forever. And when we go back to listen to that song, we might remember that moment or who we were with when we first heard that song or what that song associates with that past memory. But imagine if you could do this. That's what the greatest hit's about. It's about Harriet, who finds that art is imitating life when she discovers certain songs can transport her back in time. Literally time travel. While she relives the past through romantic memories of her former, passed away boyfriend now, her time traveling collides with a new love interest in the present. Now, I had not heard about this movie. It premiered at South by Southwest. The reason that I said yes to reviewing this is because flat out I saw David Corenswet was going to be in this. I have a very small window of seeing him in performances. Everything I've liked him in so far, I've really liked him in. He's going to be our new Clark Kent, our new Superman. I wanted to get a wider range of it, and if you're coming to this movie for that, this isn't the film. Just like flat out off the mark, he's good in the movie. You can definitely see some Clark Kent-ism. I found that this film, and specifically it's very interesting that in the same year where Suncoast premiered at Sundance, and that film was kind of the preparing, like those moments when you know someone is going to pass away and you are kind of getting to that part of the grieving process where you know they could pass away at any moment, but you're not sure if you're prepared or not. This film is about the after of that. And I find that too interesting that two films that premiered at two different film festivals this year that are both premiering on Hulu have this same dynamic. That's just something I noticed. If you didn't watch Suncoast, you should. I actually really like that one. The Greatest Hits I found to just be an okay movie. It's a movie that I didn't feel really gravitated and played on that premise all too much. But I will still say I think there will be people who really enjoy this movie. It's just one that I found that I've seen all before, just with a very intriguing premise to it. That said, thank you so much for clicking on this. My name is Zach. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before we head on out. Leave your thoughts down below. Are you excited for this movie? Are you not? Have you already watched it? Let me know down there. And with every review, I like starting out with my pros, and that's the first thing I want to talk about is Lucy's performance in here as Harriet is phenomenal. She is great. I've never really seen her in too many things, but this is kind of like one of those performances that kind of shoots you up and goes, okay, she has a wide range in this, and specifically seeing how this time traveling effect works. Because from the opening 5 minutes, which I did not know the premise to this, the second I saw time travel with music, I was like, I'm all in. And the premise itself is the best part about the movie. I think it's a very interesting one, and specifically her, who she could be walking down the street, hear a radio go off, and hear a song play that takes her back to one of these memories instantly. And for me, having one of those moments and having that sort of limelight for me is a very interesting dynamic to have here. And as a character who is dealing with that where no one would believe her, so she bottles it all up, is kind of a nice parallel to also her bottling up her grief, her mourning, and not wanting to move on into the future. And I think her performance is good. Justin Min is also in here, who I've loved in Umbrella Academy, and I think he's fantastic in here as well. He's playing the new love interest who's also going through the grieving process. I did think that some of his character was a little bit shallow and a little bit like just one note. I wish they would have dove into his loss just a little bit more. I don't think they pushed that extra avenue. I think it would have helped flesh his character out a little bit more, but I like him in this role. And David Corenswet, which was the reason I watched this, not in it a ton, but for when he is, he's good. He's solid. You can definitely see the Clark Kent isms in there already, like burgeoning out of there. He has such charisma to him. Their relationship, though, I wish they would have built up just a little bit more through the memories. The memories only last for as long as the songs do, or as long as she will let them without before she turns off the music and it sends her back. And I feel like that was actually a lost potential, because you have this idea and you can build up these memories and these relationships, and I never thought they really took that avenue or took that moment to do so. On top of that, I think the director of this did a good job at directing it. I think the film moves at a nice pacing. It's only in an hour and a half. I really dug that. I'm tired of films being over an hour and 45. I do actually think this film probably could have used about 10 more minutes, though, to really solidify its entire concept. I know it's an indie movie, so maybe they didn't have the budget to do so, but again, this is a film that's trying to touch on grieving, touch on mourning, touch on this concept of losing someone. And in the last 6-7 months, we've gotten a lot of films like that. One primarily that, weirdly enough, is also on Hulu. That is All of Us Strangers, which I think is like the best out of any film in a while. Like, that movie will break you. But that movie did a good job on building up the characters, building up the memories and building up the grieving process. And I found that the same thing that I saw in that movie could have occurred in this one as well. But this one has a great concept, but it doesn't really execute it too well. So let's talk about my issues, which I've kind of already started sprinkling through, where I found a lot of the characters to be a little bit one-dimensional. The relationship that we're supposed to grab onto is pretty one-dimensional as well. It doesn't really give us memories to cheer on or understand why they fell in love with. In fact, what this film kind of feels like is an anecdote that I could see if someone had lost a loved one in their life and they go and watch this movie, they'll probably heavily relate to it a lot more than I can possibly do so right now. I'm married. I've not lost my wife. Hopefully I never do, but that is sort of some things in there where I can see if someone lost a close boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or husband or whoever it may be in your life, and you have music associated with those memories, this might be a film that really touches into you. And for me, the one thing that I could gravitate to is how much music plays a part in my relationship with my wife. She loves music. She loves old school R&B songs, and anytime if she's not in the car with me or her playlist is going and I hear one of those songs, it instantly transports me back to one of those memories. And I think that's one thing that anyone who does watch this will be able to gravitate to and relate to. But in terms of me feeling any emotion towards this film or feeling any emotion towards the characters, that is the one thing that really just didn't pay off for me. In a film that asks for that, I expected a little bit more on that topic. Personally, for me, I think there was a couple ways that maybe they could have intersected that earlier on in the film, would have actually gave us the rest of the story that we were expecting. So, The Greatest Hits is a decent film. It's one that I don't see myself remembering personally in the next few months or so, but I can see this being a process of grieving for some people. It's going to be different for everyone who watches this. I find that films that do touch on grieving and mourning does happen to play onto that part. It really all just depends on the person. I personally don't think this is like one of the best parts about it all, but I do think the performances are good. I think as a director, this is a solid start. I like what he had executed here, but I think there's certain things that I personally would have liked to have seen more in here, specifically to build up the relationship, to build up the characters, and overall execute the premise a little bit stronger. It's a good movie. It's just not one that I can totally recommend. So with all that said, I'm going to give The Greatest Hits a C. Thank you so much again for watching this, guys. Make sure to leave that thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button. And of course, until next time, stay classy.